A single point of light, alive, in a darkness older than any continent. For over 1 billion years, living organisms have made their own light. Darwin could explain stripes. Wallace could explain mimicry. But neither could explain why life learned to glow. That question has haunted biology ever since because this isn't one mystery. It's over 40, and they all trace back to the same ancient danger. To understand how this light works, you have to look past the glow itself and step into the chemistry. Unlike the borrowed reflection of a moonlit wave or the destructive heat of a flame, this is living chemistry. At its core, the reaction relies on a simple yet exquisite pairing: a small fuel molecule called luciferin and an enzyme, luciferase, which coaxes it to react with oxygen. When they meet, they release packages of pure light, photons, with almost no waste. In our human world, lighting is a clumsy, violent process. A traditional incandescent bulb forces electricity through a wire until it burns white hot, converting only about 10% of that energy into light, while scattering the remaining 90% as useless heat. But a firefly operates in near-perfect silence and efficiency. Its reaction achieves a quantum yield close to 90%, creating what physics calls cold light, illumination born without fire. While Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace could map the survival value of a beetle's shell or a bird's plumage, this silent, glowing engine remained outside their reach. It represents a heavy, energetic investment. Why would a creature struggling in a hostile world expend its precious resources simply to shine? If this occurred in only a single, isolated branch of life, an accidental freak of nature, we might dismiss it as a beautiful anomaly. But when you look across the tree of life, you find something far more challenging. This light-bearing engine did not just evolve once. Genomic surveys show that bioluminescence has appeared independently at least 40 distinct times across evolutionary history, with some comparative models placing that number closer to 90. Think about what this means. It is not a single thread passed down through generations, but a blueprint that nature keeps drawing up again and again, entirely from scratch. It has appeared in marine fishes at least 27 times, in terrestrial beetles, in fungi, and in single-celled plankton. These creatures do not share a recent common ancestor that glowed. They built their lanterns separately, using different chemical tools. In evolutionary biology, when a complex trait appears independently across completely unrelated lineages, it is called convergent evolution. This pattern indicates these organisms are doing more than expressing a random quirk. They are responding to a constant, inescapable pressure. The repetition of this reaction suggests that, far from being a luxury, producing light must have solved an essential problem. A problem so common that life was forced to solve it dozens of times over. To find that universal problem, you have to travel back nearly 2.5 billion years, to a time when our world was unrecognizable. The early oceans were home to simple, single-celled life that thrived in an environment without free oxygen. But then, a quiet biochemical revolution began. Tiny photosynthetic organisms started releasing a new gas into the seas and the atmosphere. We call this the Great Oxidation Event, and it changed the chemistry of Earth forever. For the microscopic life of that era, this was a slow-moving catastrophe. Oxygen is inherently volatile, generating damaging reactive byproducts that tore through early cell membranes and mutated primitive genetic material. This was oxidative stress, the very first global survival crisis. To survive in this newly corrosive environment, early organisms had to neutralize these toxic molecules before they could destroy the cell from the inside out. Our leading explanation suggests they did so using primitive antioxidants. When these protective compounds bound with dangerous oxygen, they underwent a chemical reaction that safely absorbed the excess energy and released it as a harmless, accidental byproduct, a faint flash of light. Bioluminescence likely began as a shield to survive, millions of years before it ever became a signal to be seen. This concept that light was born from a struggle against toxicity is our best current explanation for how living light began. In the early oxygenating oceans, survival depended on finding ways to disarm highly reactive oxygen molecules before they could damage fragile genetic material inside a cell. Primitive organic compounds, acting as simple antioxidants, would bind to these destructive oxygen agents to neutralize them. According to the leading theory, when these protective compounds bound with dangerous oxygen, they underwent an energetic shift. To return to a stable state, they had to discard that extra energy. They did so by releasing a photon, a tiny packet of light. In this ancient context, that faint flash was completely useless to the organism. It was simply an accidental byproduct, a waste product of a chemical cleanup operation. But this biochemical accident changed everything. It meant that for millions of years, as simple organisms worked to keep themselves safe from oxidative stress, they were constantly emitting faint, unrecognized glimmers into their dark environments. Over vast stretches of time, as life grew more complex and developed the capacity to sense the world around it, this incidental glow became something evolution could work with. What started as a shield to survive was gradually co-opted, shaped by natural selection into a way to interact. The ancestral biochemistry that consumed oxygen to protect the cell was slowly remodeled, turning a metabolic discard into a powerful visual tool. We are still uncovering the exact molecular steps of this transition, but this perspective shifts how we view the phenomenon. The biological light you see today may not have evolved to be seen at all, but rather to allow life to endure a changing planet. Once this biological light existed, natural selection began to shape it into a powerful tool. In the pitch-black abyss, the female anglerfish concentrates glowing symbiotic bacteria within a specialized bulb, turning an ancient chemical byproduct into a deceptive lure that draws prey directly to her. Above water, fireflies use this same chemistry to send precise, patterned flashes through the summer night, transforming a protective shield into a rhythmic language of courtship. In both environments, you are witnessing the same evolutionary transition, a metabolic accident co-opted to serve entirely different biological drives. Whether used to deceive a meal or to find a mate, the ancestral defense against toxic oxygen became a versatile asset. Life took a random spark from its distant past and refined it, proving that once a creature developed the ability to shine, evolution would find endless ways to use the light. If you have ever walked along a shoreline at night and watched the waves break in bright electric blue, you have witnessed this living light in action. These are dinoflagellates, single-celled plankton that flash when the water is mechanically disturbed. Here, the ancestral reaction serves as an immediate alarm, a sudden burst meant to startle a predator. Yet, deep beneath those waves, other creatures use this same tool to achieve the exact opposite effect: total invisibility. Midwater hatchetfish and bobtail squid employ a strategy known as counter-illumination. By projecting a steady downward glow from their bellies that precisely matches the color and intensity of the sunlight filtering from above, they erase their silhouettes from predators lurking below. In the empty spaces of the open ocean, the very same chemical reaction that screams for attention can also be tuned to buy a moment of perfect silence. What began as a shield against a toxic world is now nature's most elegant language. As you peer into the deep, you realize that life's greatest beauty often begins as a quiet strategy for survival. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more deep journeys.